Analyzing a story when it's already completed is not the same process as crafting a story from the ground up. Like, the garbage guys already came. Who are you?
Wow, it sure has been a while, hasn't it? So, hi. I actually had another video planned for you guys, the Q&A, and it was actually filmed a month ago, but as it was compressing and being saved to my computer, I actually had a health scare happen. Don't worry, I'm gonna be okay, but yeah, actually I have to redo the whole Q&A because a lot of my answers have changed because of my current health condition. I wanted to discuss something real quick. It's kind of a tag team of a topic I've already done. I'll put it in the doobly-doo. It's kind of long and ranty, but it was my mixed feelings on authortubers having writing courses. And you can click that video for a more full explanation, but it pretty much boiled down to I'm uncomfortable with it for three main reasons. One, the pricing of a lot of these classes. Two, the credibility of those teaching the classes. And three, whether or not the person teaching the class can even teach it all, because not everyone has the capacity to actually teach. But first, real quick, please pause this video and check the information down in the doobly-doo below, because I do have information for Black Lives Matter movement. There are lots of things you can do, whether you are in the States or overseas like I am. So please continue to fight for change. This needs to happen. So today I wanted to talk about Rachael Stephen and her course that she offers, the Story Magic Academy. And the reason I want to talk about it is because recently she opened up free workshops. Now the workshops are closed for now, but they could come back the next time she has a semester open for enrollment, because they're kind of commercials, but actually support it. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to bash her in this video at all. At all. I actually think she totally believes in this process, and she is not a scam. She doesn't seem to be a scam in any way, shape, or form. But I do want to go over some points that do still make me feel a way and why they make me feel that way. Quick background about Rachael Stephen. Rachael Stephen, I ran into her YouTube channel for Preptober way back in the day. She did bullet journaling stuff for it. Those videos are awesome, they're great. Has one book currently out. It is called In the State of Flux. I have read it, but my thoughts on that, which are conflicted, are their own videos worth of content. So we're not going to talk about that today. Just know that that particular book, from my knowledge from her other videos and the Q&A she's done on her YouTube channel, that book was crafted either right before or was mostly finished by the time she ran into the plot embryo. Her whole course is surrounded by the plot embryo. It's all about the plot embryo, and it is the main thing you learn in her course. So it's kind of like that's her raison d'etre, essentially, as an instructor. So the one book that is out that you can read by Rachael was not crafted using the thing that she teaches a class on. So first off, let's go ahead and talk about the course price. So Story Magic Academy, I think the price has fluctuated a little bit here and there. I feel like I remember at one point her course being like $600 or something like that. But as of today, right now, looking at her site, it is $997 USD. I'm not even converting that to yen, I don't want to know. Now, here's the thing. I get, like, I'm an instructor. I fully get that what we do as instructors is very taxing. It takes a ton of hours. You often end up working way overtime, and like that's kind of like the life of an instructor. That being said, that's a large chunk of money. And to give you guys a little bit of a perspective, if you're new to the writing industry, competitive classes like Masterclass, which is probably one of the most competitive ones offered currently, Masterclass will cost you anywhere between
I think with USD it's 21 or 25 USD a month for a subscription, but you get access to unlimited courses and instructors. Neil Gaiman and tons, I don't even know how many. At one time they had like 3 major authors, but I think that was a while ago. I think now they have 10 or 12 major best-selling authors that have been writing for literal decades. Like Neil Gaiman's been writing before I was born. So that's a large chunk of money. Like that's a huge chunk of money. And she's got payment plans, but like there's a large chunk of money. Now, again, I don't know what the living circumstances are in Scotland. I don't know how much housing costs. I don't know how much high-powered internet costs. And that's something you have to have if you're an online instructor like she is. So to be fair to Rachael, I don't know what it would cost to run this business of hers. So for all I know, this is a bargain deal and that price is barely covering her expenses. I just simply don't have that information. But I will say that, again, like, that's not really any of my business. I am a consumer, so from my perspective, looking at the product offered, I'm looking at the price tag, and I'm looking at the fact that the course covers one thing, the plot embryo. I mean, it's an intensive, detailed class. We're gonna get to that in a second. But it is on one thing, by an author whose credibility we're also going to talk about in a second. And again, keep in mind that this is coming from someone who's like an outsider just looking at the class and what it offers. And the class and how it's advertised currently, it seems to imply, let me read a few things about the class to you, just so you get an idea. So video lessons, live office hours, community discussions, and more. The Story Magic system teaches you how to manage and shape your ideas into a powerful, compact story, how to craft strong central conflict, how to create a potent, satisfying climax, simple, practical methods, how to conjure, develop ideas, how to create a solid but flexible roadmap for your complete story. The thing about the way she advertises the course is, from my perspective, that plus the price tag, from a layman's perspective, I don't see much of a difference between her course and something like Masterclass. The only thing I can see is that she's really drilling down on one particular concept, the plot embryo, whereas a lot of the master classes are a little bit more general. And here's my thing, like, if I were part of a team for her and I was trying to get her advertisement campaign together for her courses, I would probably change the wording of a lot of that and really hit home the two things that she does have over Masterclass, and that is office hours. Like Masterclass, they have office hours, but it's debatable how usable they are. Like, you're not gonna get one-on-one stuff with Neil Gaiman, let's be real. So their office hour ideas and like how much one-on-one they can get you with as a teacher is debatable. So what she has over Masterclass is her ability to be very one-on-one with her students. And that is something that Rachael has been doing for a long time. Even before her course was offered, she did do one-on-one counseling for other authors. So honestly, that is something that I know for a fact she's doing in her classes, and she's doing very well, is doing a lot of one-on-one work with her students. And that's something that I feel she should advertise more, because it's something that makes her course unique from other competitors. Another thing that makes her unique is the fact that her course is incredibly pointed to one thing, which is plotting. It is a plotter's dream. Now, the double-edged sword of that is, if you're not a plotter, if you're a pantser like I am, you'd probably have a very hard time with her course. And it wouldn't be her fault. It's just like you're pretty much forcing yourself to do something that you're not inclined to do as an author. At least in my opinion. At least in my opinion. Now, the second thing that has always gotten my goat is credibility. And this is a very unfortunate point for Rachael. And again, I don't really blame her for this particular point at all. And I'll get to why. So pretty much, like I said, the only book you can see from Rachael that's been published, and it was self-published, is State of Flux. Again, I don't want to go into that book too much. I have very mixed feelings about that book. I can see her talent as an author in it though, so I will say that much. My biggest gripe that I have is that there's no written work, complete written work from her that utilizes the plot embryo of hers that she used to craft it from the ground up that you can read as a consumer to sample what the class will end in. And the reason it doesn't exist is because she hasn't finished writing it yet. And that's very unfortunate because writing a book takes a really, really, really long time. In that time space of crafting it, you still have bills to pay. So she's trying to find a way to live in the interim between getting this other book out, and I can understand that and sympathize. At the same time, it does make her class look a certain way because there's nothing that I, as an interested individual, could read to see what the end result of the plot embryo as a creation process is being used, because the plot embryo is based off of Hero's Journey. Hero's Journey, that is an analytic tool. It takes a work already complete and analyzes it. That's what the Hero's Journey is. The plot embryo is based off of that system. In other words, it's based off a system used for literature majors to analyze already finished stories. Analyzing a story when it's already completed is not the same process as crafting a story from the ground up. Those are two different processes. Now, I'm not saying that the plot embryo can't work or doesn't work, because obviously it has worked for some other people. Rachel isn't the first one to utilize a plot embryo based off of the Hero's Journey. She's just fiddled with it and made it a little different. But it's existed before, and she has said that. Like, she has a video about her plot embryo on her channel that's quite old now, but like, she fully admitted that she's not the only person to use it. But that's the thing, like, it kind of works, but the reason I feel a certain way about that process is because while it may work for some people, it wasn't intended for that purpose. For me, if I were doing a course like this, I would probably at the very least have some kind of short novella or something released that showcased it, and maybe have it either for free on my website under Creative Commons, or I would maybe charge very little for it. So it's like $1 or $2 on Amazon. You know, something very easy, cheap to get a hold of so people can sample what they could get to, what they can craft using the techniques you're teaching. Now, that's just my perspective though, that's just my opinion, but I would feel a lot better and more comfortable with courses like this being offered when there is legitimate, like, this is the end goal that someone can read. So now we finally get to the workshop, and we finally get to my third point, which is, what are you like as instructor? And I'm gonna just say right now, I think Rachel is really good at it. Rachel actually does have a natural talent for explaining things, for breaking things down, and she's very patient about it, which is to her credit. This is great for her because it means that she really can take any student at any level. She can talk to people who are pretty in-depth in their stories on their level and where they are in their journey, but she's also able to break down terms far down enough that even people who are complete beginners to writing can understand what she's talking about. She doesn't just speak in writing terms. She can actually break it down all the way. The workshop I took with her, she was pretty good about explaining a lot of the terms, almost too good at times. There were large chunks of her lecture that I was pretty bored and I was doodling on my paper, and that's not her fault. It's because she had to break down some terms so far, because again, it was a completely open lecture, anyone can attend, and that includes people who are completely new to writing. So she has to do that, and I think that was wise of her to do that. The only real two criticisms I had about the workshop were, one, there were certain points that could have been cut or heavily edited because they were a little repetitive. Again, I think that might have already been fixed. I was part of the first lecture, so it's totally possible that was already fixed by now. The other part was the very, very long commercial about the Story Magic Academy at the very end. Because of course, part of her process for How do you organize all of your meta writing, aka writing that isn't your actual story, but it's writing that you have to have in order to craft your actual story, notes, outlines, etc. How do you organize that in such a way that it's very, very efficient? You can get to everything you need at all times and you never are lost. That's what the whole workshop was pretty much was. It was a process, and it's actually a process that I actually already use in my spiritual and my personal study work. So it wasn't a new process to me, but there were still some really good reminders in her class and little tips and tricks for like shorthand, which I appreciated. But I think a lot of people probably don't use this method. I definitely think I'm kind of the outliner on that, so I'm glad she has this. I think it's really, really useful workshop, and I think a lot of people would get a lot out of it. But of course, part of her process is the plot embryo, because like I said, she really does fully believe in it. She's not a scammer. Like this, she does utilize it. Now, of course, that meant that when she got to the part of explaining that more in depth, she was like, well, I have an entire course on it, and she went into the course. I actually really appreciate that she went through and did a breakdown of every single week of her class and what she does in it. Because, again, she charged quite a bit for her course, and I think she should really break that down. And if I was interested in taking her course, which I'm not, I'm a pantser, guys. So I'm not her audience really for this. But if I had been, I would really appreciate her going that in depth into what the class actually does. I would appreciate that. So I'm glad she did that. I don't think it was great to drop that much, because it was a big part of the lecture. I would say it lasted 7 to 10 solid minutes of her going through slides, maybe a little longer, of her going through slides and what they do each and every week. And it's just a lot if someone isn't interested in that and really just came for the workshop alone. So yeah, I think it would have been nice if that had been broken into 2 pieces maybe, and she would have had a really brief hook and then done Q&A real quick and then gone right into the intensive details. I think that might have worked a little bit better in my personal opinion. I think we might have to end this video with yellow lights, guys. Sorry in advance. Oh, that's some yellow lighting. So yeah, my end conclusion thoughts is that I don't think she's a scam at all, and I actually do think her course would probably be really great for people who fill those 2 categories of they are plotters or they are very heavily interested in plotting, something they enjoy, and they will fully utilize the office hours given, because those are the 2 unique things her course has over competitors like Masterclass. But if you don't fill in those 2 categories, which my living in Tokyo pantser self does not fulfill either of those fields, if you don't fill those 2 categories, then a class like this definitely isn't for you, I don't think. So yeah, I don't think that her course doesn't have a place. I think it definitely does, but it is a little unfortunate that the way the course is and the way that her career is right now in its spot, it makes things look like a gray area pretty heavily. And this is why I have such mixed feelings on these kinds of courses, is because there are people like Rachel who I do think have a knack for teaching, and they do have information to share that's good and solid, but they don't have a ton of experience in the industry, and they don't have a lot of things they can share with people that are completed forms of works showcasing the end results of what they're teaching. They just don't, and it's not necessarily their fault, because again, writing takes so long to do. It's a very painstaking process. So it's not a simple thing to solve. So at the end of the day, like, if you're interested in Rachel and what she has to offer, I do recommend her YouTube channel. I think she's got some really solid content on there. And again, I think she talks about some subjects that I think more writers should talk about, like letting go of old projects when it's time to let go. Let me know if you guys want me to do a video on, I probably will, if you guys want me to do a video review on her book, State of Flux, I can do that. I have mixed feelings on that book as well. I can also do a video on attempting to use a plot embryo for my own process. That makes me nervous because I've never gotten plotting to work for me. For anyone who's still stuck around on this channel, thanks for your patience. It means a lot. I know I don't upload a ton of content right now, so thank you for sticking around. I really do want to know what you guys have to think about these kinds of issues and these kinds of courses that are offered, especially when they're priced so high, which again, like, small businesses have to price things higher because it's more expensive for them to run their business, but like, it's a big jump in price. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about these kinds of things. For those of you authors out there that have actually published quite a few books, because I know I have 1 or 2 people that follow me that you guys are published, like, let me know if you would be interested in teaching courses at any time. And if you did teach a course, what would the course be about? Would it be about a very pointed topic, or would it be more general? What would you most be comfortable doing? Do you feel like you could offer something unique enough to do that? Or is it just too intimidating? I'm just kind of curious. But yeah, let me know, guys, what you think, and I'll see you later. Also, let me know any questions you have, because I have to redo the whole Q&A. See ya.